Welcome to the Life Is podcast, where creativity, culture, mindset, and intentional living come together through real conversation. I'm your host, Coy Brown. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, travelers, and visionaries who didn't stumble into a life they love, they built it. We go deep into how they think, how they reconstructed themselves, and what became possible on the other side. This is not just about what people have accomplished. It's about the internal work that made it sustainable. Because when you build from the inside out, life expands. Let's get into it.
Okay.
This week, I'm sitting down with someone whose art was born out of her most fragile moment and whose healing became the subject of her work. Anna is a full-time artist, a formal social worker, and someone who found her way through bipolar disorder, not through the traditional path, but through metabolic science, ketogenic therapy, mitochondrial research, and a complete reimagining of what the brain actually needs to function. She has a solo show in development called Mana, a TEDx talk on the horizon, and she is building all of it without urgency, without pressure, and without a deadline she does not choose herself. Here's what that reconstruction actually looked like. One. All right. Well, good morning to you, Anna. Welcome to the Life Is podcast. I'm your host, Coy Brown. And as I mentioned for the audience, I do have a fabulous guest, Anna Drew, with us today to share about her journey and what life really is. So for beginners here, Anna, if you can you kind of just tell the audience, who you are, where you're from, and what do you currently do, right? That's kind of the party questions people always get to is like, what do you do for a living, right? So you can kind of tell us, where you're from, what do you do, and how you're feeling today.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you, Coy. So it's layered what I do. So professionally, I am an artist. I have a BFA from the University of Michigan, and then I have a master's in social work, but I would say I do less social work in the traditional sense anymore. So I do some coaching, I do some mentoring. I am a thought leader in the field of mental health and a mother. I've been married about 20 plus years. And so I make a lot of art. I talk to a lot of people and I try to move the needle, I think is pretty much what I do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love too, because your rhythm, right? For the audience, disclaimer, I know Anna outside of here, but your rhythm is so not to the same tune as everybody else, right? You find your own rhythm and you're proud of that, right? You express that in a creative way.
Mhm.
So no, I'd love that you're doing that. Now, I guess as we gently kind of ease into this next transition, when people meet you, for the first time, right? For kind of listeners listening in, um, what do you hope they feel, right? And you kind of talked about just briefly that you meet with a lot of people, you talk with a lot of people, but what would you hope those people feel when they first meet you?
Well, I think my authenticity or my truth, but I hope I'm not thinking about how they're going to feel about me.
Right.
in terms of in terms of what is taken away from an interaction with me, I hope is something of that's what it feels like to be around energy where someone is 99% okay with who they have become and who they are becoming.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's where we should all be, right? That's the biggest takeaway. I think you hit it on the head. Like, you should be, whether it's you, right? Because I kind of asked you the question, but you get in someone's presence and you can feel that radiance of like they've accepted themselves 100%, right? Through and through, ups and downs. They're comfortable essentially in their skin.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain capacity someone like that holds that when other people are around that, they can
Mm-hmm.
soften into what that means for them, or they can have that reflected on what that means for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I want to kind of go forward, right? We're going to kind of peel back some layers here and kind of go back in time. We talked offline, right? You said as you mentioned, your identity and art and where that kind of came from. You grew up obviously surrounded by creativity, entrepreneurship with your mother, through
Mhm.
her retail stores and art spaces. What did that environment teach you about beauty, space, and even the idea of possibility?
I think my mother, her name is Nancy Drew. I She was so creative, almost to the limits of nothing was off limits.
Right.
There was a door, that my dad didn't wanna put a window in, and then he came home from work the next day and she had painted. painted a window there. Um, so she just created such beauty in spaces, and she continues to do that. But it was very much, even at the time, culturally, she was doing things that weren't being done by a woman necessarily.
Mhm.
So that was a touchstone for me to just witness that.
For sure. Had to
So
cut you had to get by that. And if you want, you can kinda share about your mother. I think, her trailblazing, I would say, past and history of what she's done is amazing. It's nothing to, scoff off. I think that was a huge imprint from what from my impression from outside looking in to see
mhm.
those possibilities. Like you said, she was doing things women weren't doing at that time and pushing the limits. So if you wanna talk about her, what she did, feel free to share.
Well, she embodied, like, this fearlessness around her artwork and her creativity, and she was in flow a lot of the time. And when
Mhm.
meaning, like, just to be around her, it was like, "Okay, we're gonna go to the beach, and, yeah, we're gonna get a whole chocolate cake. We're gonna take it down to the beach," and we didn't bring any forks, so we're just gonna
Right.
eat some chocolate cake, and which sounds like, "Oh my gosh," but it was very much her reference point of, like, free and fun and just creativity, and she made a lot of art, and she made it very quickly, and that definitely influenced my own perception of, like, art as a craft or art as something you have to, there are masters and you have to take it
Right.
slowly or something. She did not do that.
Hesitate, yeah. Once she
Yeah,
got locked in, it was
she
she
just kept it.
created.
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, right, obviously, you've been around this all your life, so it's a huge, blessing in itself. What did
Mhm.
art give you that maybe nothing else did?
I think art is very much a portal.
Mhm.
It's a portal to be able to have almost your nervous system become more cohesive when you're in flow, right? So it just gave me this sense of, like, a way to have a knowing in my body of that sensed, felt, sensed experience, and then just to have it be something that is a way to communicate and reflect your own experience or your own interpretation of the world and how unique that can be.
No, beautifully said, I agree. I wanted to give you opportunity too, before I go to my next question, because maybe some viewers are maybe curious, what type of art do you create? I don't know if you can I don't wanna use the word boundaries, but if you can kinda categorize or give some idea of, a type of art.
I Yeah, I'm a contemporary American painter, I would say. And then I take that painting to non-traditional pieces like fashion. I cross over fashion, so I layer that. I have a substantial, you know, over 20 plus years. Really, I think it's 30 now. It's crazy, like 3 decades of artwork, and a lot of them are figurative and self portraits. And so, yeah. But I would say contemporary, if we want to be very specific, contemporary woman American painter.
Okay, good. I said I'm sure someone probably curious of what type of art you create as we're diving deep here.
Yeah.
Looking back, right? Do you see art as something you chose or something that chose you?
I think it chose me in the greater sense that something resonated within my makeup to bring that towards me. And
Mhm.
I mean, like, my mother was an artist, doesn't mean that you're going to be an artist, but it
Correct.
definitely drew me to, um, that space.
Yeah. No, hearing you speak, the whole idea of like portal, right? Once
Mhm,
again, this art was like a portal, or maybe this energy source, if you will, that kind of pulled you in this direction.
mhm,
There was so happened, maybe some layers as we'll talk about later that kind of enhance that right feeling. But I feel like once again, is this portal that kind of just pulled you closer and closer,
mhm,
and in the result, you found more of yourself.
yeah,
Um, so I want to kind of switch gears here. We're gonna kind of go back once again to your time, finding your voice, right? Kind of a breakthrough, and also before Michigan, right? As you went to U of M. So for those who are Wolverine fans, Anna did go to Michigan, but you shared openly. about manic episodes, right, early in your life, and prior to your time at Michigan, if you will, or comfortable enough, how did that experience change your relationship with yourself, also in relation with art and as you were evolving too?
Well, I think again, there's many layers to I feel like the answer, but I mean, when I went away to my first school, I went to Flagler, and I experienced all this freedom, and I had a very intense manic episode at that time, and it pulled me out of any sort of being grounded. It was there's trauma that happened during it. And so I was 18, so when I came back from that trauma, this is in the 90s, and I was diagnosed with, they said ADHD, and then changed the diagnosis to bipolar diagnosis.
Right.
Um, so that really, I guess, was a when the journey started of how do I understand myself?
Mhm.
So it was like I couldn't not follow the thread of what that meant for me in terms of the bipolar piece of it.
Was it
Did
like
that
a yearning? Yeah.
question?
Yeah, for sure. I think was there a yearning or maybe an eagerness to wanna, like, "Hey, now that I have this, like, diagnosis, I wanna dive deeper into this, like, I wanna understand it all."
No, I was like,
No.
"F you, people.
Oh.
I don't want this. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
this." Um, and I think the pathology that existed back then, uh or I guess I should say paradigm that existed back then was a very, they're going off of a DSM, and it's like
Yep.
these are your symptoms, and this is basically your trajectory, and we'll try to like make it as easy as possible, but like these are the medicines you can take. And I mean, I think that's kind of where they were at that point with the piece of it. So I didn't dive in or feel like I wanted to claim it. I felt like I wanted to not tell anybody about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's shocking for anyone to find out, like, for myself included, I'd be like, I wouldn't wanna accept it. I wouldn't believe it's real, right?
Well,
It's
it's only because the identity that we have,
correct.
and then the perception of that diagnosis, culturally or otherwise, is that you are limited to your potential, basically, is how I distill it down. It's like, okay, well, you could only do this because you have all these issues with your emotional temperature and, like, how you can sustain homeostasis, whether you're inpatient hospital, just, like, a lot of different components. So, it wasn't for a long time that I started to talk about it openly.
Mhm.
Maybe 2016,
Yeah,
2017,
that's real.
maybe?
Yeah, that's some time. Yeah, good for you. And after that kinda took place, I mean, how was that for you? I mean, you're 18, I'm obviously undergrad. How did that journey kinda navigate? Whether I guess maybe I'm asking more pointedly is, like, how did that journey go from, college student and then, post grad, now in the
Well,
real world? How did that
yeah, and if I can take it back to the portal word again
Yeah,
for a minute,
go ahead.
the art was a portal for the healing that needed to take place when the diagnosis and with all of the trauma that went into play. So in 1995 or whatever, I started
Right.
doing these portraits. Much of that work was to try to introspectively understand what was going on with my brain, what was going on with my temperament, uh,
Mhm.
what had happened in my life or whatever. So I started, like, I describe it like it's kind of like it was just one starting, like the portal came back full strength when this happened to help me be able to just thrive or get through that experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The creativity did, I think,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, no, it's a huge, I mean, obviously, I know you do, therapy and, relate that to art as well, which is huge, and it sounds like that was almost a natural, um, experience that kinda unfolded in that moment
Mhm.
as the art was kinda that anchor to help you out. Kind of transitioning here, you said, obviously years pass, and we're going to go back and forth here, but for the listeners, but you talked about now recently, um, because of that experience, right, and what you've been going through, you have a self portrait series coming up, or you're working on, excuse me, called the Yay of Little Faith, which emerged after the aftermath of that period. What were you trying to? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Ye of Little Faith, like, that series, part of my collection of so I have, like, a range of probably at least 100 self-portraits, probably. So the first self-portraits that created were under the umbrella of Ye of Little Faith. So that's when I started making these portraits with the halo. Almost like when you go into a Catholic church or any kind of church, the
Yep.
aura, the halo of the saints, um, and then I would just write on it, "Ye of little faith," because I didn't have a connection at that point to the part of what I'll kind of, I feel like, go into a little bit,
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
triangle that came out of knowing all of my experience, but part of my this concept I feel about, what I've been through, my lived experience has been part of the triangle of my own healing and cohesion is the spirituality piece, right? And then part of it is creativity, and that's the mind, and that's all the things related to the mind. And then the other part is the biology piece, right? So
Yep.
I I
Thanks.
blanket the most of my experiences can be blanketed with those three things. The and the inaction. So, when the Ye of Faith, I know I'm hopping around a little bit, but when
No,
the
you're
Ye
fine.
of Faith was developed, that is, like, when that part of the triangle of spirituality was really, like, a little weak, right? So, it wasn't
Mhm.
holding up much of
Wait,
the other
yeah.
2. Yeah, it wasn't, holding up much, but it was an entry point to the conversation of spirituality. Like, is there something greater than myself? If there is, why would I suffer? And why would all these things be, quote, happening to me? Um, so that is part of what I've observed looking back. That was part of me connecting in the beginning of my artwork to the spiritual piece.
Yes. Yeah, good. You answered my question, because I was gonna ask, what were you trying to see or maybe forgive of yourself? And it sounds like there was a connection there, um,
Mhm.
through that artwork. And I love
Yeah.
that mentally, you have this triangle: biology, creativity, the mind, and then also spirituality. Like, that was huge. Was that something you just naturally came about, or you were kind of compartmentalizing, like, "Here's these departments in my."
Well, after my uh most recent, experiences with my difficult year in 2025 of really trying to figure out what was going on with me in terms of the bipolar piece. So, like, the bipolar piece has been at the center of the equation for over 3 decades, 30 years
Yes.
of trying to figure out what is this bipolar and how do I um, nurture myself and exist within this diagnosis and what is it and what's happening, because a lot of those answers weren't out there. And so I looked back at all the things I had tried, all the things I had, going to retreats, signing up for coaching, going to do acupuncture, going to the medicine bowls, going to taking the lithium, taking the drugs from the doctor. Like, and I saw a pattern emerging, that it wasn't just one thing that I was doing. It was really, it could be summed up into these 3 conceptual parts
Yep.
that could not survive on their own. Like, I've never been just be able to have a drug and be fine. Like,
Right.
I think it goes beyond bipolar in terms of the functionality of the concept, but for my own lived experience, it's been what has helped me toward a regulated nervous system.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, my mind mentally, I'm like, that's a stable equilibrium for you, right? There's this constant variable, if you will. My mind
Mhm.
kinda goes to science, right? You mentioned biology, but this constant variable that's always there in your life, these 3 kind of pillars are what hold
Mhm.
everything together.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that too for the viewers that are listening. I think that's good to conceptualize. Where did this come from? What does this really mean? Attach some meaning to those departments. So when you were at Michigan too, you mentioned you had a mentor, right? A female mentor who was
Mhm.
a professor
Mhm.
through those times. How did potentially her as a mentor shape your confidence or voice during that fragile season um, during college?
I think that she was able to create containment and a place for me to be vulnerable. A lot of experiences in the traditional art school model are you do your pieces and then you kind of you're evaluated or given feedback in front of a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I was not at a place after the things I had been through
right.
to be in that container. So they said you could do these self it's like a series, and you could do them independent studies. Sorry, and the um, woman would just allow me to see like the mirror that I created, and I think that just to have whatever you're going through mirrored to you, whether it's you're going through something and it's like you're in triumph or whether you're in
Mhm.
despair, just to have that mirror. So it was like a way that I could continually have a safe mirror that it's real. What you went through is real.
Correct.
It matters. And you can create what that looks like and what that means. And you
Yep.
have some sort of agency to how you want to communicate that to other people.
Yeah.
And then have that resonate with, because the thing about my artwork is if you were to sit with the 5 faces that I've made, there will be pieces that touch parts of you somewhere in your whole physiology. I don't even know, but there's something that's resonant in them to the human experience. And so that is a tool, a portal for you and for me. So it's like you can look at it. Like I had this friend come over because I had a submission to New York and I had all these self portraits out. And I said, just tell me like what you think. And she's like,
Right.
I just, she said, I feel like there are all these parts where I can see myself in the pieces and they resonate. Like somehow they hold these parts of me. Uh,
Mhm.
and so I think that's because, yeah, they're done with that kind of presence though. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
turn away from it, I turn towards it.
That's really important too. Uh, I think even myself at times, you wanna shy away from those parts, right? Those
Mhm.
fractured parts that we think are so, um, I don't know, condemned or bad, but really that's the power, right?
That's the power.
That's
And
the
it's
power, that's the fuel.
yeah, and that's the integration of those parts, and many people are doing work on this in the field, but the integration of those parts can give such relief to your overall quality of life because so much of this goes on in our heads.
Yep. And many times, in my own opinion, I would express that I feel like those parts you're kind of, explaining here are the parts that also hold you back. Like, you shying away from it is kinda keeping you, right, restricted
Well,
in a sense.
yes, and I feel in my own arc of my story, and I think everyone has this. There's a survivor part, right? So there's a survivor Anna, there's a survivor Coy, there's a survivor Mary at Starbucks. There's a part of us that has gotten us so far, but it's the part that's led front led with a lot of protection, a lot of layers, a lot of safety, a
Yep.
lot of programs from our parents or whatever's happened to us. And that survivor part keeps us in familiar,
Rounds.
territory.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just a way to integrate, I think, and become more empowered in general when we start looking at those parts. So,
Yep. I totally agree. Totally agree. Actually, another question, a great question for you here too, Anna, is like, do you believe suffering sharpens creativity, or does it simply strip things away until what true remains?
well, this is interesting because I was just at the University of Michigan yesterday and someone brought up
Yes.
a similar question.
Go ahead.
Uh, Someone on their research team said, what about Kurt Cobain? Like, is it like the suffering that people have? Like, does it make good art? Or like, so
Hmm.
similar kind of
Yeah,
like,
that's where you're going.
and like, I think that we don't trade creativity for health. So we don't have to trade that, like being in a homeostasis place or being in good health doesn't hurt creativity. True creativity, like, comes from a homeostasis place anyway. Like it because even if you're in flow, like you're in this place that's so does that answer your question or did I not answer it? Because I
No, you
thought
did. No, you did. I mean, you can go to another discussion on that, but I see where you went with that.
I
Um,
just think like it's like the suffering is not here to be it is here to make us more awake. It's gonna happen all the time. And so I don't think that I think it's just an and. It's more of an and or a both. Like,
yeah,
you can't live a human experience without suffering. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's the ideal. I think you have to go through things so that you are propelled to do more
yeah.
because that's where we get to like evolve, right?
And I don't even think the suffering has to necessarily be bad, right? We always have this connotation of suffering as, I don't know, being stabbed, right? Of what we can't do or have to do something. I think it can be good. And to your point, I don't think the suffering is the primary engine to creativity. If I think of what you were saying, like
Right.
creativity is going to be there whether it's suffering or not in this homeostasis um, realm, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that the more it's thought of as not I think suffering really is, like in Eckhart Tolle's lane, it's like if you are convinced that you should not be suffering, that's like causing more suffering.
Exactly.
So it's knowing that like there is a level of suffering, but I think there's a gradation of what you will experience suffering as if you can build your awareness and support your biology, your creativity, and your spirituality that allows you to have less of that suffering in terms of what you have agency or control over.
Yes, 100%. And personally, I think I'm at a stage two kind of share. I think to your point is like feeling safe in change or feeling safe in suffering. Whatever you want to you word you want to use or interchange, but
Right.
knowing suffering, change, those things are going to happen, but you can still feel safe in those moments and not shy
Yes.
away from it. Right?
Yes.
You can still grow.
Yes. Yes. And the familiarity of like, you won't, you know, Joe Dispenza, like you aren't going to change until your identity changes. So until you're out of survivor coy
Right?
and the thing that survivor is familiar to you in your environment and what you're creating in your psyche, then you're not going to be able to create that next place. So you have to be uncomfortable. It's like you have to choose to be uncomfortable. You have to be like that I'm all in. Like
Right.
and we'll get to that part of my story, but like
Yep.
you know, I think that you just get used to like okay, fuck it. Like it's time to jump. Let's jump.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Again, like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and speaking of your story too, we're once again we're kind of going back and forth here. I'm kind of building this story timeline, if you will, for our audience as well. Um, I know we didn't talk about your work and what you've done specifically, but we'll get to it now. Kind of at a point in time in your life where you were healing others, but also healing yourself, right? And this is where you were working with the youthful youth detention, or juvenile detention, excuse me, inner city kids and women's shelters. Um, what did those spaces or being in those environments teach you about either pain and resilience?
Uh,
Or if you want to open it up, it could just what did those
I think it first, I think the thing that comes in is contrast. Contrast of just the
like your
levels
range? Are you talking about maybe the range or
of suffering.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
Or, and also, I've just worked with a lot of people and held a lot of stories
Yes.
for people, you know? And the biggest part that I can, reflect back is that, like, just to build that presence of, um I don't know how well I can articulate it. It's like
That's fine.
I have been in the trenches and then in the trenches with other people. And I think that has allowed me to build my own capacity for
Mhm.
change and my own ability to also know there's something greater and not get like overwhelmed by the minutia of things. Like
That makes sense.
um like doing what I can control because it was very when I was early in getting my master's, it was very difficult to not I don't love the word empath, but I'm definitely more energetically, I think, inclined than maybe the average
Average
Joe,
person. Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree.
which, I mean, that would be nice sometimes to be the Joe out there or whatever, not really these, but, I just think I had to, it was like a training of sorts to be able to hold my own vibration almost around such discourse because the
Mhm.
way I feel in my lived experience that you can change discourse is to, elevate that, light or resilience in yourself to eliminate your own mental discourse, biological discourse, you know,
Mhm.
and be able to inform change that way. Um, so
You ever notice how sometimes you know exactly what you want to do, where you want to go, but something inside keeps pulling you back? It's not strategy, it's not effort, it's not even fear. It's the patterns running underneath everything. The beliefs you didn't choose, the loops you inherited, the internal static between who you are and who you're becoming. I created something for that. It's called the Coherence Diagnostic, a free assessment designed to show you exactly where those patterns are and what's possible when you shift them. Whether you're an athlete chasing flow or an entrepreneur building from vision, this diagnostic reveals the subconscious filters shaping your decisions, your confidence, your next move. It's free, it's deep, and it's in the show notes. Take it, see your patterns, and let's talk about what comes next. Because life is art in motion, and you deserve to create from coherence, not chaos. Yeah, that's good. For myself and what I'm hearing, it's like eliminating this decoherence, right? This we use the word resonance, right? But like this decoherence, this perturbation of like getting off scale and build. I said to your point. I think it's a little hard to articulate, but building this internal like engine, if you will, to be
uh-huh,
grounded in that and hold that space to your point with others and hold space for yourself. And it sounds like, right, you were training yourself for the moment to even where you're at now and where you'll be in the future. Like, hey, I've been in the trenches to your point. I've learned how to create this energetical presence of myself to not waver or be, maybe not the word afraid, but unwavered by
yeah.
what's happened.
Yeah, and I think it's so much, what is external,
Mm-hmm.
like, some things we can't help but see or, like, what we can't
For sure.
control, but what is internal is completely within reach to, like, have your own program, have your own mental state and your essence and your soul essence
Yep.
be programmed to be like, "Okay, that person just said that to me and it was terrible," or whatever,
Yes.
and then okay, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe I was meant to hear that, so I felt this way. Everything's happening for you. Nothing is happening against you. There is not any victim mentality when you get to a certain phase of
Very
your life
much.
because you you don't have time to waste your energy thinking that you're like or being embodied in any victim mentality.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. No, you got a good point. I think it's a good that period is a good time to learn to absorb. And a kind of a side question I had for you in those moments, you mentioned, for lack of better terms, developing your own consciousness, right? Internal, controlling the controllables, right? Were you
Mhm.
measuring your own self data, like whether it was someone said something or, um, I don't know, you get in an argument or you go to work and something happens. Were you measuring this deviation, if you will, from your kind of
Well, I
stability
don't
line?
well, I don't know if you wanna jump there yet because I don't know what the next question
Yeah,
is,
we'll
but
keep going, but I guess that's just me being curious, right? Kinda
I think
offline
the
here.
answer to that question is more about what I mean, the biology of things and how that came about and really being able to, in my own experience, factor in some, things to measure, like cohesion.
Yep. Yep,
I
yep,
know
yep,
it's
yep.
kind of abstract, but I don't wanna jump ahead before you wanna tell me what else you wanna ask me.
Yeah, good. We'll keep that there. So kinda diving in, obviously still here, you're kinda in this detention center, right? You're a social worker, for those who don't know. How did you or I guess how did becoming a social worker influence, the way you understand trauma, not just intellectually, but maybe somatically? And you've kind of briefly touched on this kind of already. So if you wanna answer that, how you kinda learned, um, you know, develop these skills somatically, working with other people as a social worker.
Think that I didn't wouldn't call myself a social worker anymore. I would say I've, like, retired from that, identity or doing what I would call social work. Um, I think that I was trying to, you know, help people, but I was also trying to get a seat at the table that I always felt was not present within the current paradigm of mental health. So I think that if I go get this master's, somebody's gotta figure out what's going on, then I can at least help figure out what's going on.
Right,
It's
can
a
be a part of it.
I can be part of it. Um, and uh, I think that that did help my journey.
For sure.
So my experience was, I think, what it needed to be at the time, and the skills definitely, I still can utilize some of the skills, but not in the paradigm in which they exist.
Correct. Okay. Speaking of art and healing, right? Kind of side by side, I feel like these are kind of things you've kind of interwoven. You're constantly um, navigating through both, right? Throughout your experience, whether it's now or through your past, what kind of kept you tethered to both? Was there something, a unifying um, with paradigm or ideology that kind of kept you tethered to both, or was it just a
Well,
natural unraveling?
I don't think they're ever separate. I don't think that um, people can do art and not be uh, affected in some way. And that's like the creativity vein of the triangle. Because it is a way to process, it is a way to reflect, it's a way to, like, get your brain in that state, like you said, and um, it's an entry point too, like, I will do it with clients that, they'll come into my studio, and there'll be a 6-foot by 6-foot canvas, and it's like, they look at it, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" I was like,
Yeah.
"What?"
What?
I was like, "What would it be like for you just to go over there and get the paint and pick out some paint colors and just like and then they'll squeeze like just a small amount of paint out." And then I'm
Right.
like, "Do you look at that canvas? You're gonna need some more paint."
Mhm. So you
And so then they squeeze out and they're just like you can see their whole nervous system when they're like kind of uncomfortable, like, what is going to happen? And this is like we don't have to go to Mount Rushmore, like not
yeah,
Rushmore, Mount Everest or like go to some like high intensity even thing. It's just the matter of someone standing in front of a space that they normally don't take up,
Mm,
and doing something unfamiliar to signal to their brain that it's actually safe to
yeah,
do something that's unfamiliar, to do something that could, create more confidence in their ability to show up big. And so I think that that is like a way that the art and the healing and the portal can connect to whoever you are, whether you like, and I love it when people are like, I'm so not creative. I'm like not creative. I'm like,
come on
"Bish,
now.
like
Yeah,
it's not if you are
exactly.
from creation, like there's not anyone that I could ever meet that doesn't, maybe they're
Yes,
not maybe they don't remember. Maybe they're not tapped in. But so that's how I see it in my own like practical sense of like exposing other people to how creativity can be like a portal.
yeah, for sure. And I think too, when they're in front of this canvas, right? I think for so many of us, we want to have the answers, and this is a blank canvas with no right or wrong answer, right? You're just telling them, "Hey, go
Right.
create," right?
And that's maddening. And
Yeah,
then they say to say no direction on purpose. Like no direction, just like make some marks. Oh boy. It's
yeah, they
like,
don't like that. They
what
want
are you
certainty.
talking about? Could you tell me what to paint? Where to paint it? What color to use?
Yep,
But that's just the beautiful brain doing its job. But then you can see it as a highway. There's one lane and there's another lane. There's a lane where
mhm,
you can put it on auto and you can just like breeze by, or you can figure out that there's this other lane where you have intention and you have agency over all that survival part in you. And you can actually start to make the decisions from the major part of you, which is your soul, which your God seed came here to do. And, let's go.
right, let's get going.
Yeah. We're,
Alright,
yeah.
so we're gonna get obviously to what we were talking about, a little bit about biology, because as you progressed, right, you kinda stumbled upon I love you said agency in the beginning of the podcast. I think it's such a important word, but also just having that within yourself. You journeyed, right, through your, through bipolar disorder, took a major turn, and you encountered from what you shared, metabolic psychiatry, is that correct? Is that
It's metabolic psychiatry. I'm going to go
or
back
psychiatry?
a minute because so the, I feel like for the first 29 years of this, or maybe
Right,
what I can remember, the biological pieces that have been tried for me specifically for the people that might know someone with bipolar or whatever have been lithium, which is a gold standard for the diagnosis of
field,
bipolar.
yeah.
And I've used like some antipsychotics, and that's been like in terms of the biology piece. I've also utilized ECT. ECT is a electric convulsive therapy. You are administered a, what do you call it? No, the anesthesia. Thank you.
Oh,
Like the
yes.
anesthesia. Sorry, I was gonna put down or put under, and then you get this seizure, and the seizure triggers the brain to give a neuro response. So the brain thinks there's a seizure, so it starts like forming new neurotransmitter
Yep,
pathways. So
yep,
that's what it like. It's the body is almost trying to heal itself from being triggered by the seizure.
right, to a trigger event.
Yeah, so I've had the ECT and I had a lot of it in 2025. So much of it that, you know, I had 2 manic episodes in 2025 and was not hospitalized. My goal was, I don't want to be hospitalized. Let's just try to do this with the ECT. Well, I lost like much of July. I can't remember. I was physically having a lot of pain, the ECT treatments. And so I started to wonder about like health coaching, like functional medicine. And because after one of the ECTs, I literally was like on my knees, like in my room, like on my knees, just like, please help me, tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, doing everything. I've taken all the drugs. I've done all the spiritual things. Like I have
Yeah.
like, at that place where you're just like surrendered.
Yeah,
Like
what else? A
surrendered.
another pro is the procedure long? I just wanna chime in and ask, is that a long procedure, the ECTs, or is this like a
You're in and out the sa I'm in and out. I go to Chicago to do it, but I'm in and out, like, in a couple hours, I would say. It's like you're only having the seizure. You're supposed to only have it for about a minute.
yeah,
Mine were running longer, so it was causing me more, problems, but I was home by noon. Like,
okay.
I'd
So,
go to Chicago and, like, be home by noon.
yeah, it's not bad.
And so I had this situation where I really, like, had surrendered. Like, I was leaning really heavily into the spiritual piece of there has got to be I cannot control these things anymore. I can do all the my Palo Santo is not fucking working.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not like there is something beyond me that I cannot control,
Yes.
right? And so in August, and I've always been very connected to the divine and to God. And I've gone through different phases, but right now it's God. And I, even in my artwork, a lot of my artwork like started with that "O ye of little faith," and then it's ended with this crown that is a symbol of worthiness for me, and like that was I felt like given to me in a
Yeah.
painting session from God. Like I heard "do a crown," and it was like what? Anyway, so I felt like I was leaning a lot on that spiritual part this last 2025. And then I decided I got up one August and let's say I love champagne, okay? I love champagne, I love tequila, I
You
love
can't. Yeah.
everything, okay? But I was doing that like all the time. It's like part of my identity. It was like this is just what we do.
Right.
And in August, I was like I woke up and I was like I'm not going to do this anymore. Like I heard like total thank God thing we're not doing this anymore. Dumped out like, I was in a movie, I dumped out all the liquor
Right.
things.
In the
I was
bathroom, right?
I'm not doing this anymore. Because I was gonna be hiring a functional med health coach to kind of help me with things. So, at that point, I stopped drinking, and I still have not drank since
Good
then.
for
So
you. Yeah, good for you.
and something that's been amazing. My sleep is so much better, all the things. So, I hire the health coach, Gina Shade, awesome woman, and we start doing things and I start to feel some changes. But then my friend who uh, is an amazing doctor shaman sends me a podcast with Dr. Hyman and Ian Campbell. And she says, well, this is kind of scientific, but maybe you should check it out. So I checked it out. And like in this podcast, they start talking about metabolic psychiatry. They start talking about mitochondria health.
Yep.
This is cells in the brain. This is, things that you need to help with inflammation of the brain. They started talking about how bipolar could be put into remission from a diet. And I finished
Mm,
that podcast and I was like, oh my God,
yes. On fire.
on
Yeah.
fire. Like, if
There you
this
go.
is like something that's true. Like, if these people are doing this research and like this could be true, it was so I sent it over to Gina and I said, "Check this out." And she's like, "Okay, we're gonna do keto now." And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna do keto now." Because the whole
Perfect.
premise of this is like to increase your mitochondria health through ketones
Yep.
in the brain, which they've shown research with bipolar specifically to be very effective. Gina says, "Okay," and then in the next 3 days, Gina's like, "Your blood work's all back from your functional labs." And I'm like, "Great." And she's like and I go in there and she's like, "Okay, I just wanna say that I have a lot of patients, I don't have a lot that have this outcome on this specific
Specific, yeah, result.
result. All your mitochondria and your metabolic markers are extremely low."
And you're like, "Is that good,
And
bad?"
that's good like,
Yeah.
because of the podcast that I listened to, it said that diagnosed bipolar people have a low functioning mitochondria
Okay.
and the metabolic health is compromised. And so I could not basically my brain was not getting fuel from glucose, from carbs. And so it basically my brain was functioning like on fumes. Like it's on the
Mm,
highway, it's in the
yeah.
lane, but it's on fumes. I couldn't like the biology of this part was not. So fast forward to I started the keto probably in October. December, I hooked up with a new metabolic psychiatrist. This is a new field. If you have a mental illness, if you have some mental health problems, Google metabolic psychiatry. It is not mainstream, and it is very in a lot of cases, not in everyone's case, can be very helpful for symptom elimination. Okay,
Yeah, you
so
plug
I
in.
hired Dr. Calabrese in December, and now I feel like I have a new brain. And I mean, that was a lot of information for you, but
No, you literally answered it. And if you can describe, if you can articulate it in a way that you notice differences, right? You say, I got a new brain. In what ways do you feel like, hey, these are new experiences,
right.
events?
There's a lot of markers. My, what's even okay, let me answer the question first because I get really excited about this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like my ability to pause before speaking, my ability to pause, like, in a situation where normally I would just say what I thought right away. The pace my brain can interpret things around me is slower.
Yep.
I'm not as emotional. I'm not as fractured. I am able to remember things better.
Mm,
Uh, I sleep
yep.
better. Um, but it's like, I mean, Koi, I think that you have a brain similar probably to a normal person. I mean, I don't know. But for me, it's like to have had this experience biologically where I couldn't tap into what it really felt like to have a full tank of gas. My only way to feel that way was when the brain misfired and became manic. It would it almost would mimic what's happening to me now with clarity, but, like, it would go towards an edge of psychosis. So now
Right,
it's like
right.
you have this, like, high functioning brain and then all the other things that come with it from eating food. Like, I just wanna just, say that, like, because this is not a pharma thing, and it's not like I stopped taking the pharma things that I take, but lithium is a salt and it's, I think, great, but this isn't it's not like this is the magic answer. I'm not saying
Correct.
that. And I'm not saying like that ketosis that it will work for everyone. I'm saying that once I spent so much time in my life with the spiritual aspect and the creative aspect, that once my this other component came in, it all could integrate. So we can't treat people like with just one thing. It's like
Exactly.
no, it's not it's multidimensional. People are multidimensional. They're in contexts of, like,
Yep.
their life and yeah.
No, that's I was taking notes here, and you said car analogy, right? I'm like, it sounds like you were just missing one piece. The food was kind of the activator, right? That food kind of triggered some things. Now you find this therapy, or not therapy, but this type of science that holds up, and it's like, boom. As soon as that clicks in, night and day difference, right? Night and day
Night and
difference.
day. Night and day.
Um, my mind, we kind of talked about physics offline, and shout out to a gentleman I follow on Twitter, not X, Brandon. But when you talk about, you said spiritual, right? I'm definitely in the spiritual realm, but it sounds like kind of using his line of thinking, those things kind of collapse under pressure, and your science is kind of being held up, right? Like when you put those things to test, they collapse, right? They don't hold up, and it sounds like this mitochondrial, what I want to say, I guess, information, if you will, has done wonders, and it's showing the evidence, right? So, anyways, I guess my little 2 cents of what you were saying is that all these little pieces just clicked, right? And it started with you.
Mhm.
Um, you answered like three of my questions in one, so I'm not gonna go back, which is great. No, no, no. Hey, you're good. You made it easy.
And I just kept going.
No, it's good because that's the flow, right? You just let it continue, let it come out naturally. Um, so you also talked about living without urgency and guilt now, right? Especially now after all these changes. What does that feel like in your body? I know you talked about emotional things. Your pace is slower, but just not having the urgency of feeling guilty.
Well, I think that it's like now that it's feels embodied, um, it feels very safe. Like I feel so safe, like in my body,
Yep, yep.
and I feel like I don't have to try. Like I don't have to convince anybody. I just, keep following these things that have given me direction
Mm-hmm.
and then I just get to see.
Yeah, witness. Yeah, witness.
Yeah, and it's not because it's interesting. It's not like woo woo, it's science and then it's layers of other experiences, like with the creativity and with the connection to something greater that really puts me in a place where I can articulate what I'm articulating to you, which I hope can help other people because it's possible. But it does take that agency. Like an agency isn't urgency. An agency isn't you get what you want all the time or someone does what you say.
Right.
Like agency is being able to adult into different experiences without collapsing into a survivor.
Yeah, that's powerful. That is so true. And that's a good way to put it. That's a really, really good way to put it. Um, there was something else you said that was so good. You said safe, and you don't have to try. Like that's such a huge like movement internally.
Well, yeah, and it's like you don't have to like someone said they would describe it as kind of like unbothered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be a good way.
But it's just like you're so comfortable with what and this is all from the inside. This isn't because you got the new house or because you talked to the
No,
therapist even,
exactly.
because you got the medicine that you needed. This is something that's transcends all those things. It's something that, is hard
Yeah.
to accomplish.
I also do want to add before we transition. I like that you said it's not woo woo because this is just your body reacting, right? The science kind of gives the parameters, the constraints of what's possible,
Mhm.
right? And you're kind of operating within that, and your body's changing in that process. So it's not like there's something abstract happening outside of you. This is all internal, right? And it can be tracked.
Right, and another good person for that, I just wanna say, is Dr. Lisa Miller, does a lot of work on spirituality and connection, and she's a psychiatrist, but there is there is bodies of work out there talking about how spirituality helps brain function, like, and help
Hmm.
your relational connection to other people.
Absolutely,
So there's a very grounded way that they're trying to, put that science with the spirituality. I mean, there's, front runners that are doing that. So,
for sure. Yeah, no, I'll mention that as well, in the show notes. Um, as we kind of hit the back portion of the podcast here, talking about healing and embodiment, which we've been kind of talking about already. You mentioned your upcoming show, going back to your art is it's called Mana. Is that correct? Is
yeah,
that
so
that's Oh,
it's
go ahead.
it's manna and
Mana,
so
excuse me.
the so I was talking to someone several months ago, probably in September or something, maybe, and they talked about that I should say some more about mania and like my art and mania. And at the time, I hadn't quite jumped from or kind of put Survivor Anna in the back seat totally. Um, she was still like kind of pulling on the wheel.
Right. Play.
And so I didn't like that word mania because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I think it goes with maniac and like there's just like throughout
Yeah. The
culture.
connotation through propaganda, through
Yeah.
just all type of
Yeah.
stuff. It's
So I said, well, I was in my studio. I was like, well, what if I called it in just the word manic, mana,
you know,
like combining my name with manic. And then I met the next day with my friend, who said, "Do you know that that is in the Bible?"
mm,
And I said, "No." And she said, "Yeah, manna is the nourishment that came from the sky from God, and it was a form of food, to, you know, feed." I don't know who it was.
feed
And
someone.
feed th yes, and so it's like a big thing in the Bible,
Yeah.
and
It is God.
I then that made it make much more sense to me now, and even, like, in the connectivity of, like, the fact that I was given that word, and then now, I'm talking to you, and basically a big part of my nourishment and the biology that has supported me would be called manna,
That fits.
like,
Yeah.
it is food from the highest level of food.
Yep.
So yeah, so there's a show I'm going to do probably in the fall surrounding that. And then the next, like the thing I just right off of this meeting at the University of Michigan, the Heinz Proctor Bipolar Research Program, where I have been, I think since 2008, a
Oof.
part of their
That's good stuff.
longitudinal study.
Yep.
And then I was gone for a couple of years, but now I'm really excited because they have so much data on me from
Yeah.
this,
Absolutely.
and now I'm going to get back into the study with them to help find more data of how I did what I did and how my body reacted and all the things and things that have changed, and also do a case study. So that just like so exciting to me because then, the potentiality of helping other people, because there are other Annas out there
Yeah.
that are, you know, just would love the answers. And maybe some of my answers would fit to what's happened to them. So that University of Michigan thing is a big, big deal.
Yeah. It's
So
huge.
excited about that.
Yeah. You can kind of be a pioneer for many people. Other
Mhm,
women, other men, like you can kind of be, you can say guinea pig, but you're going through it. You want to get the answers and give
mhm,
it back to them.
mhm.
I know we're running up on time because I want to be respectful of your time here. Um, you're good. Okay. Now with Mana, right? I do love that name. How does that work? Reflect where you are internally, like now, and not just aesthetically.
Well, you mean with the art show or with
Yeah,
like,
yeah, like the art show. Like, how would that represent, who Anna is today, now with all this information, all the experiences, and
well, my studio time is the art that I'm making right now for the Mana show is slow. It's much slower than the art I've made before, like the
yeah,
girl and her mom go fast. It's like, no. It's like we have so much time. Like we're not in a hurry anymore.
yeah, not a rush.
It's not a rush. So it will be compiled pieces of kind of showing that embodied regulated nervous system. Uh and I don't the the practice that I keep having is I don't need to know. I don't need to
Yeah,
know. I don't need to know the outcome. I don't need to know where the show is gonna be. Now I can have intentions,
for sure.
but I just need to do the one step in front of the other. I need to make the work. I need to meet with whoever at the U of M place. I need to talk to you on a podcast. I need to keep writing my book. Uh, do I know how to get it to a publisher yet? No. Can I figure it out? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah,
like, it's just, like, this unfamiliar being okay with the spaciousness of like not having relief because people want relief. I love relief
Yeah. No,
in
we all do.
in knowing, like in knowing the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, you know
But
what to
like
expect.
training your brain to understand that it's totally safe when you don't know, it makes things happen. It's like, what are you talking about? Like I
Yeah.
didn't have a meeting with the University of Michigan 5 days ago.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
it was 3 days before I went. I sent one email. They responded in 5 minutes. I spent like sent another email.
yeah.
"Oh, I'll be there actually. I'm going to a concert." Like, "Okay, come by. Meet with us, present to the team." I didn't have to plan any of that out.
Yeah, and there's no, like, rigor, there's no, like, fighting this resistance.
Mhm.
Hearing you speak and kind of the flow that you're going, it's like you're very much in this calm, relaxed state. Not saying you're not moving, right? You're not just sitting there and, meditating, right? It's like you're calm and you're not worried about the outcome, which is so powerful because I feel like even myself, right? We want this expectation. We want to know the rug's not gonna be pulled out from underneath us, right? So having that, obliterated and just taken away, I'm sure is transformed for you new heights mentally, emotionally, physically. Um, and just overall, I just hear this on this beautiful path, this beautiful pace that I am unraveling one step at a time, as you said, and everything's gonna come, right? There's this trust. Maybe that's what I'm really trying to articulate is there's
Mhm.
trust in this process,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I'm not worried about failure or
Right. And I think that, Coy, it's like the trust comes from also that knowing and by practicing through your life that you have agency.
yeah. Yep.
So I'm the one that decides how heavily to trust myself or trust in something greater that's going to happen or trust that despite how the world is that this is something is going to go a certain way to where it's going to be for everyone like or just like that view.
Yeah.
And when you don't have the other survivor part weighing you down and trying to drive from the front seat of the car, all that like you realize you're in a freaking Lamborghini. Like you're like, "Wait.
Yeah, hold up now.
You you were in a Chevy 76
Yeah.
before." And like
That's
now you're like,
funny.
"Wait a minute." Like
Yeah,
and it's all accessible
that's funny.
from yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love you. So you
It
control it, right? You're in the
yeah, not
driver's seat, you
being
definitely
out
control it.
there. Yeah, yeah.
That's funny, you said Lamborghini.
I
You're in
don't know.
Italy right now driving
Like, yeah, it's like
in the hills.
that's what I thought of, Lamborghini. I think it's because I started watching Pretty Woman last night. There's like a
Oh,
Lamborghini.
yeah, that's I've seen that. Well, I haven't watched it, but I've seen,
It's like an
online.
80s version of the Lamborghini. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, you're
Anyway,
driving. Alright,
but yeah.
so we're obviously getting and you said agency, so that's where I'm kinda leading here, your philosophy, agency, life is type of idea. So you kinda blend a lot of science, spirituality, right? You said biology, you're kinda your triangle, right? Your personal agency altogether. Um, how do you hold all of that, right, all together without needing certainty? It once again, you kinda touched on this already, but if you wanna maybe explain in deeper depths, how do you keep these all, together, yeah, without needing that certainty on the back end.
Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't keep them all
That's a
together.
real that's so true.
Sorry. They
Yeah,
just, like, don't. I mean, and ideally I mean, how do I do it? I think that I've, in my lived experience, have really developed, uh, resiliency in a way that is like, I was put here to do something, and I just keep on going. I just keep going, and I have people around me that love me deeply, and yeah, and I
yeah, that's a big yeah,
believe, like, in myself. And I believe, like, it's not just a part of a triangle. I believe that God is, like, supporting me at a level that I can't make up, and I keep not being able to make it up. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
and I know it's something greater than myself, and I can feel, even more supported.
Yep. Yep. You kinda already answered it as we talked through conversation, but, how would you compare agency to your prior self, so your other, maybe earlier version of Anna, till now? And it sounds like maybe trust, but if you wanna elaborate, what's the difference there?
She just yeah. There was a
Yeah,
lot she thought agency was basically telling someone that they should do what she wanted to
yeah, right.
like, that agency was if she didn't get what she wanted, then she was failing. She also thought that she had to, like, fight the world. Like, she
Yeah,
thought
that's
she
heavy.
fight everybody about anything, um, to feel like what meant something to her was important to them, almost.
Mm,
Like,
yep,
to get them to understand why it was important.
yeah,
Um, and this new identity does not have any of that. Like,
and
it's very, but she'll come in sometime I will recognize, like, when I'm like, "Okay, now she needs
yeah, you're like, "Wait a second."
fruit snacks in the back seat. Like, what do you
Yep,
want? You want the Go-Gurt?" Like, this
yeah,
but what I really found about that is that when the Survivor Anna parts come up for me, the most important thing, I think, and this is because of a wonderful therapist, Dr. Rosenberg, Joan Rosenberg, is that they want to tell their truth. And if you try to, like, squall it down or, like, "That's not the way we do it anymore,"
exactly.
without them being able to say, "But I needed to do this to protect you so that you understood, like,
What's
and
going
the
on?
people
Yeah.
didn't do whatever to you, and, like, I needed to fight, and, like, we need to fight," or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah,
um, but then to say, "We're not," to let the voice be heard, the truth be heard from that other space, and then I love saying, up until now, we did it that way, but
yes.
right now, we're not doing it that way anymore. I got this."
And that's a gentle reminder, right?
Yeah.
To your other parts, right? Saying, "Hey, I appreciate you trying to help,"
And
up
another
unt
yes,
yes,
to
that is a lovely gentle reminder to ease that part of you and say, "Hey, we're going this way, but I
yeah,
appreciate it."
yeah, yeah.
Last 2 questions here. If someone's listening, struggling with their mental health, feels broken, what would you want them to know? If you have anything to share.
I would want them to know, keep going.
Mhm.
I would want them to know that it's possible to feel better. It's possible to live a life that you can't make up. It's possible to take one small step, you know, to stay connected to the people that love you, people around you, that there are more answers out there.
Yeah,
I mean, I just think that I I have been I think I lost count at 7 times inpatient hospitalizations. Inpatient hospitals like girl interrupted type shit.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I am sitting here today very much regulated. Now I could have something happen, I don't know, but, like, it's possible
Yeah,
to be in a space where you can contribute and be a participant in this life, in this world, and be fully alive. It's
yep.
possible.
And I think you're a living testament to it, honestly, Anna. I think, one, I would say probably you've had this tenacious, right, in a good way, tenacious journey to figuring out the answers, wanting to know, right? You wanna know what's going on, right? Through this diagnostics dice not or dice diag
That
diagnosis. Yeah, thank you. But more importantly, I think, um, it's possible because 'cause you're not speaking from theory. keep going impossible may seem basic to people, but really you're living it. Like you're saying, hey, I've got to the other side. I'm living it now, right? Like I've
Mhm,
been there. So I'm talking about knowledge and experience that is true for you.
mhm.
Um, so I think that just in general, just those two things hold weight, especially coming from you because you're doing it. And you've been that person who's probably listening who may feel that way. That, hey, I want change. I want to live that life, right? This new life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that I so much, like, in my heart, just, like, didn't want it to be for naught. Every time that I'd get out of the inpatient and have to explain to Max where I'd been or what, like I just didn't want it to be for naught. And I kept on having that motivation, like, this is not for naught. Like,
Mhm.
some girl is gonna be driving her car, might be a Chevy, and, she wants to drive a Lamborghini.
That's
And
right.
she deserves the Lamborghini. Nothing wrong with the Chevy, but maybe she wants that. Like, just to know that, literally it has felt so much since I've started this metabolic, ketosis stuff, the psychiatry, that it is very much available to me to have the life that I have wanted and continue to try to want.
Yep. Yeah. My last question here, Anna. So all my guests, as they know what to close out, right? I finish a statement. If you could fill it in the back end, right? I always say life is, right? This is the whole life is podcast. You could think about it right now. And I ask you, life is what? What would you fill in that blank in right now?
Life is grace and everything you can't make up.
Take that. I love it. Grace and everything you can't make up. Well, good. Before we hit the exit, where can the audience, the viewers, find you if you want to plug in your social medias or any websites where they can find you, connect with you, or get in touch?
My Instagram is a.r.drew.art, and then it's Drew Art is the website, and Facebook is also, I think, Drew Art. So I think all of them Drew Art, and yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, Anna, for being on here. Also, put in the show notes your social media handles so people can follow, connect with you. But truly, thank you for your time and being willing to share your experience, right? The journey of the never ending journey that just keeps on getting better.
Well, thank you, Koi, and I think that you are a remarkable human being,
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate that you have this container and that you will just keep going.
That's right. That's the plan. That's the plan. So thank you, and we'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
All right. Take care. What Anna showed us today is that healing is not a destination. It is an architecture you build, cell by cell, choice by choice, day by day. She did not find her way through willpower or optimism. She found it through science, through honesty, and through the willingness to look at what her body and mind actually needed rather than what she had been told was possible. Her art is the proof of that work. Mana, nourishment, divine light, stabilizing force. That is what she's building toward. And the fact that she is creating it on her own timeline, without pressure, and full ownership of her process, that is what internal coherence looks like when it is finally real. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Life Is podcast. If something in this conversation landed for you, a shift in perspective, a reminder, or something you needed to hear, don't let it stay there. Take it with you, put it to work. If you're ready to go deeper, I have tools built specifically for this journey, a self-discovery blueprint and a diagnostic designed to show you exactly where your foundation needs attention. Links are in the show notes. And if this episode added value, share it with someone who's building, leave a review, help us grow this community of intentional people doing real work. Remember, fulfillment isn't found, it's built. Life is art in motion, and you are the artist. Until next time, keep building.